Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mark's Indy Spotlight. This is episode 11, and this week I have with me TGainz. TGainz, say hello to everybody and let them know who TGainz is.
Well, I am super happy that you guys have me here. I am very awesome time. I want to have a great time here. I just started diving into doing more podcasts with people, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So I was super happy when you sent me a message for me to come on here tonight.
Well, I mean, your name's becoming synonymous with the southern area in women's wrestling, so got to give the people what's hot. And right now, Quadzilla is taking over.
It's been great. I just started, which I hold the belt in Tavo, Georgia, in that area, and I started moving. It's funny because back when I started wrestling, everyone's like asked me like, "Oh my gosh, where have you traveled?" And it's like I started like really close to home, and it's just been spanning out. But it's been great. I love everywhere that I'm at right now. I love it. The travel. Some people look at it as like a burden. Like everyone's like, I don't want to drive all these miles, but for me, it's awesome because new places comes along, new faces, and people to connect with, and all that. So the way that I've been growing here recently it's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's always fun to network and get to see other places. Kind of break out of that norm and get to see some of the attractions that some of these cities have, and just like one thing that's right now on my bucket list, I kind of want to drive up to LJ and see the Squidbilly statue.
Oh yeah.
Like I've been meaning to do that, so that's probably gonna get knocked off that bucket list here soon. So, my first question I have for you is, who is T Gaines?
So TGainz stepping into wrestling, people say you can be anything, be anyone that you want to be, create this character for yourself. But when I stepped in, I told myself that I want to keep myself as close to my roots as I can when I first start. So I get a lot of comments like on my appearance, like my camo gear. A lot of veterans really comment and love it, and it comes from my hometown. I live on a farm, very small town, and the camo thing, like, of course, being on a farm, we hunt, and so it seems basic, but it just goes hand in hand. It's what I rock, and so I was like, I'm gonna have this for my gear. Growing up, I started working out when I was 13 years old, and it's carried me through. So for T Gains, when I stepped into this, I wanted it to keep it close to home, and that's that I am a small town girl. I have these roots in me, and I come from a strong background, and so I want to be known for the hometown heart that I have, and then the true strength that I show.
Right, and it exudes because like you don't like obviously you're self confident because that's just a character trait that I've noticed from what I've seen of you. Um, and but you're also humble at the same time, and I think that's very important.
hmm I know from my greatest success has always come from remaining humble, and I feel like a lot of people like lose sight of that from sometimes. Like if I feel like we all need ego checks every now and then to keep ourselves humble. Not get because anyone can be on the top and fall back down like in a second. It's like anything can happen at any time. So it's always good to keep yourself humble. And a lot of my success I feel has come because I kept that mindset and I've kept myself in check. And I've been blessed, honestly, beyond all measures, from wrestling to weightlifting to everything that I'm part of and plugging myself into.
My next question for you is, by whom were you trained?
I went to flatbacks wrestling school and I was trained by Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze.
I've seen some footage of that too. One of them was where you did the flip splash, I believe it was, and you busted your mouth.
The that successful drop kick.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
So many people comment on that, like, oh my gosh, she just busted her face. And I think Breeze commented and said, no, it's just great selling. But it was so funny. I remember that day I learned that I was working with John Huber. He had came into the school that day, and we were gonna do like a tag match, me and him with Sean Spears and someone else. One of the other students was involved, and he asked me. He said, "Can you do a missile drop kick?" And I was like, "I've never done it before." And so he just said, "All right, we'll scratch that, and we'll do something else." Well, after we had the match, I asked him, I was like, "Can you teach me how to do this?" And in the background video, you see him throw his arms up in the air right after I hit. It took me a second to register. I hit and then I paused for a second. It's like, oh gosh.
But on the flip side of that, I've also seen the little video where you said you love to fly and then you're doing everything flawlessly. So
Yeah, it
uh,
was funny because they told me like with like the body type that I have, I'll be a good base for stuff, and I was like, I want to learn some flying stuff too. I want to try to get a little bit of everything.
right, mix a little flying in with that strong style with your background. That's definitely a good idea.
Hmm.
So how long have you been wrestling?
So October of this year will make 3 years.
And you're making waves already at 3 years, because literally I can't hear anything about women's wrestling in the South without your name being brought up. So now, would do you consider yourself a heel or a face? Like what do most companies portray you as?
Most companies portray me as a baby face. I'm really known as that everywhere. There's a couple here and there that will pull me in as a heel, but overall, they always pull me in for a baby face.
Yeah, I mean, you got the body, the face. You got that likable personality. So
Hmm.
I could see why. Now, whom would you say that your style of wrestling is the most like? Like, where do you draw your influences from in your moveset?
I would say, and I did, she's one of my inspirations was Paige. I just really like that, like, ruthless kind of aggression that she shows, how she's really tactic in what she does, and she knows the right way that she wants to portray herself. And even as a little girl, when I watched her come to the ring, she just had this essence about her, like this confidence and this just walk about her, like she was confident in herself. And then growing up as a little girl, like I had my insecurities and all that stuff. So I really envied her, and I like studied her stuff, and that portrays a lot into my work. And it's like it's weird coming out, and like this is probably sidetracking it a little bit, but coming out, it's like a whole different zone in like my mind that like I go to, because I'm human like everyone else. Like I still have insecurities and like confidence issues and stuff like that. And you wouldn't think that us wrestlers would, because we're in the spotlight a lot. So you would think that we wouldn't, but the truth is that we do. And even then, it's like a whole different mindset that I get when I step into the ring, and I remind myself, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm capable of, and I want to showcase that. And so a good bit of those like little lessons came from Paige and studying her stuff.
Well, I mean, I've seen the entrance a few times where you do the whole the jacket unzip thing. You look completely confident while doing that. Oh, so like that kind of rolls into my next question of who was or is your biggest inspirations?
Yeah, Paige is definitely one. I would say Chris Benoit. I studied a lot of his stuff when I was going through wrestling school. Um,
For the
Shawn
technical
Michaels,
aspect.
yes, and Shawn Michaels was a big thing when I was learning the essence about selling and such. And so there's a certain match of his that Sean Spears had me go to, and it was when he had broken his back, and he was like, the pain that he's portraying is real, and that's what you want to translate. So I love to watch his stuff. Those are three big people that I would say.
All right. Well, this is not in the list of questions that I sent you, but if you had a top three salesperson in wrestling, whom would you say the top three are?
They're selling.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I put you on the spot.
I'm thinking. Mm, I would say Shawn Michaels is a good one because he's the one that I was directed to. Um, I would honestly say Alexa Bliss is a good one. I got to work with her one on one. She came to Flatbacks and we got to do some cool tactic stuff like that. And watching her match and her stuff. Um, and Finn Balor, I would say him too.
I just
I
seen
can.
both of them recently
You did?
in Tallahassee at the Saturday night main event.
Yeah, those. When I thought in my mind, I was like thinking back to matches, and I can remember the facial expressions, and I was like, yeah, those.
So that'd be your top three of who the best salespersons are.
Yeah, right here at the top of my head that I'm floating in recently. Yeah.
Well, we'll discuss more of that off the air, cause I got some stuff I could show you too. But what match or moment that you've been a part of so far is your favorite?
Um, I would say, and this is probably most recent, when I won the Freedom Force Wrestling Women's Championship. To end that, that whole match was a banger. Those two women, they were really good competition. And what I liked the moment of was the very end. And I had hit Emily with my finisher time before. I had always hit a top rope finisher on Lexi. I had never hit her with my Quadzilla before. And at the very end of the match, I actually hit her with a page turner. And then right before I was going to try to go for a pin there, Emily had yanked me up and tried to hit her finish on me. But I scooped her up and I hit my Quadzilla. But the first time I threw that person onto someone else and took the pin that way. And that was, I scooped her up and I just looked down at Lexi. I'm like, you know what? This is how we're going to finish this. Two birds, one stone. It was a triple threat match. And that was just awesome. It was just something different that I hadn't done before. And I loved it. And hearing the fans' reactions, like I was going back and listening to her, I scooped her up and they were cheering. And then right when I went to walk and stood on top of Lexi, they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's just one of those moments that they just stick with you.
So the whole aura was right for that.
Hmm.
Um, where can the fans come to see you? Where are you booked next? What social media outlets? If you have pro wrestling tees or any merch links like that, go ahead and plug those now.
Yeah, I'm actually wrestling tomorrow in Pavo, Georgia. I'm going to be defending my SWA belt against Emily Locke. And then after that, to finish out August, I'll be in Jacksonville, Florida with CCW to take on Vicky Dreamboat. And I honestly, September and October, I'm booked every single Saturday. And to see those, the match cards and posters and all of that, you can follow me on Instagram, and it's just T_Gainz. And I also have a Facebook page, which is just TGainz. Right now, I don't have any links to my merch. Everything is sold in person at shows, so you can see them there. But I do have a website up, which you can find in the bio for my Instagram and Facebook, and it will take you to where you can watch or my last matches, and you can also see the podcast that I do. I love to post fan pictures on there, and when I do get a thing set up for my merch, it will be found on there. But right now, I do everything by shows, so you have to come and see me.
No, well, I mean, that's a good opportunity for them. Anybody can buy your shirt offline, but that fan experience is definitely something.
Mhm.
Um, so y'all stay tuned for that. Whenever TGainz gets that, we'll be dropping it on March Indie Spotlight page, so we can keep y'all informed with the hottest wrestling gear in independent wrestling. Um, so let's talk a little more about the podcast, your
Mhm.
quad pod.
Yes. It's so funny. I was bouncing around with the name for like forever. And everything that I do, like my Quadzilla, um, my Quad Squad, what I call my fans. So I wanted to tie it in something like that. And so it just, I was sitting there and I was writing down names after names. I was asking my brother for help. And then that one hit me. And he went to go give me some other ideas. And I was like, no, I got it. We're doing Quad Pod. And so I have been on the fence about it for so long because I instantly thought, like, who's gonna really sit and listen and all that stuff. And then I just decided, like, I'm just gonna dive in and do it. And even if I'm the only one that listens to myself, I'm still gonna have fun with it. And so I wanted to go into it and not just tie it down to one specific topic. I wanted to variate it and also different life experiences, deep stuff, lighthearted stuff, and just really any and everything. And the feedback that I got was unexpected. Um, I got lots of messages from people telling me that certain things stuck with them, how they really liked it, and it sucks because I do, like, I get booked every weekend and I work throughout the week, so I can't always put out episodes back to back as I always wanted to. But time as I do, I post it everywhere so everyone can see it. I've been busy, but I have a lot of notes and stuff taken down. I just got to sit and record them. So I have about 2 or 3 episodes worth that's going to be coming soon that I'm really, really excited about.
Well, I've listened to the episodes, and you can definitely get a little more of the TGainz backstory by listening to the Quad Pod. The thing that I found really interesting is the whole being a state weightlifting champ.
Hmm.
That was, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, you don't hear a lot of that out of females.
Hmm. It was That was the first ever real goal that I set out for myself, and it was lots of years in the making because I started out working out when I was 13, and lots of people were like, "What?" It seems like such a young age, and I was like, I was in the gym, and at that time I was only lifting the exhibition because in high school is when you can actually compete, and so that was it was crazy. It was back and forth on my consistency with it. And then my junior year is when I got dedicated to it. And then I ended up placing seventh at state, and which was a big thing for me. Wasn't even expecting it to even make it into state when that being the first year of truly dedicating myself to it. But I had told my coach that I appreciated the work that he put into me, but I was not going to know what seventh place felt like again. And then for that next senior year, I just threw myself in it. I worked out 7 days a week for like 5 hours. You couldn't get me out of the gym. It was crazy. I was a senior, so I only had like 3 classes left for credits. And then I got out around like 12. And then I stayed there to like the end of the day. And I just would work out. And then girls would come in and work out. I would work out with the football team, the guys weightlifting team, and I would just stay there throughout the rest of the school day and then a couple hours afterwards. And even on holidays like Christmas, I get up, go to my coach's house, work out, come back and open up presents. Like Thanksgiving, I had to get up early, go work out, and then go meet the family. So it was just like one whole year, which looking back now, when I was in it, it felt like it was not dragging on in a bad way, but it felt like it was this big, massive time, like the time that led up to state, that led up to competitions. And now looking back, it's like felt like all that happened in like a span of a second.
Right.
It was just like that, and I was like, I was just like I graduated in 2019, and I was like, when I was just a senior, I was just lifting weights, and look at me now. But it was great, and I had all the support in the world from my hometown, from my family for that. And then after that was when I graduated. I had become a state champion, and it was time for me to start the wrestling career.
So, do you feel that all that preparation and work that you put into your body for that helped you transition to the wrestling
Oh yeah,
a little more easy than, say, somebody who just was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this."
yeah. I feel like it really helped me a lot in the way that my body responded. I remember the first bump I took, I literally felt like I was having a heart attack. My whole chest got tight, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" It was like something new my body hadn't felt before. But just going into the school and noticing that I'm getting sore, the way that my body had responded, I felt was much quicker because my body was used to being put through endurance, intense stuff like that. And just the way that I would land and everything, I felt like because of the muscle growth that I had, like I just felt not like it was like a cushion. It's just I just feel like it really gave me an up, like on my body being able to withstand and to be able to take and start doing these things. I feel like because of the muscle buildup and all of that, it did give me a lot of help in how my body received these new movements and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely helps to be physically fit
Mhm.
when you go into training for this. So, another question I have for you is, what are some of your hobbies outside of wrestling? What does TGainz like to do when she's not in the squared circle?
It's funny because when people see me in that element, I'm all like in your face, like rah. But on the outside, it's like I like to paint, listen to music, and go for walks, and it's like two totally different like things. Like whoa. But I love art. I've always loved painting. I was big in that in high school. I love to just go out and get canvases, like, and just think of ideas and make them, crafts and all that stuff. It's just really, really soothing thing. I love music. Sometimes my therapy is just laying down with headphones and listening to music.
What style
Um,
of music do you like the most?
it's so funny. It's so random and all over the place. But honestly, if I had to pick one thing that I would say I listen to the most is like my 2000s hits is my go-to. Literally, if someone asks me like, "Oh, name some today's music songs," I'm like, I don't know because I listen to my 2000s. I also, and people laugh, I listen to like Elvis, Johnny Cash, like, all those guys on replay for me every day.
Well, I mean, come on, you're a farm girl.
I know. I was like, I was born in the wrong music time. But yeah, and since I am on a farm, I really love nature, so I love going out for walks. I am a farm girl, so four wheel, four wheeler riding, fishing, all that stuff is a good thing. But
That's a shoot, y'all. So, throughout history, and this could be anybody, but who would you say that your favorite baby face is of all time?
my favorite baby. This is gonna be like funny, which I guess is more current. But when I first got into wrestling, like I was 12, and one girl that I really got attached to, and probably gonna laugh, it was Bailey. Like her hug me and all that stuff.
I'm a
I
hugger,
got
Bailey.
so into that. And she was just one of those people, like, she just had that true just baby face. Like, you just gravitated towards her. She was like so sweet. And it was like, oh my gosh. And I still have the headband at my house that she had put on me from one night at NXT. And like, I had her shirt. I actually, when my dad was taking me to these shows because they were super close to where we lived, now has as NXT's grown, they're not coming around like my hometown as much as they were, but they were coming to like Jacksonville, Florida, Stark, Florida, Palatka, and every single weekend we was going to one of these spots, and it got to the point where she remembered my name, and she would always say hey to me when I came up to the merch table, asking me how I was doing, and I was like mind blown, and I just really gravitated towards her. And since I was still young, but there was a couple moments I would stop and like tell her like I want to do this one day, and she would give me all the encouragement in the world to like get into it when I get older and all this different stuff and all this advice. And so I really gravitated towards her.
Well, I feel like too, like just seeing your gimmick and your personality, that you'll most likely do that for another young girl in the crowd down the road.
Hmm. It was so sweet. Just the night that I won the belt in Panama, this little girl came up to me, and her dad was like, she wants to do this when she gets older, and then she's talking to me about like the wrestling moves that she practices on her siblings and all this different stuff. And I was like, I was doing the same thing. I was like, you just keep on doing it,
It's
and
like, you go,
that's
girl. High five.
yes, that stuff just melts my heart. I love it, especially all the kids. I love all of them, but when I see the little girls, it just hits me because it was like
That
that's
was
where I
you,
was. That
right?
was me.
So, your favorite heel of all time would be.
Hmm. It's kind of a tie between, honestly, Stone Cold and CM Punk. It's like a tie between them.
All right, so if you had to choose one, CM Punk or Stone Cold. Yeah, I know that's a tough decision.
That is tough. Mm, I probably have to go with Stone Cold.
Stone Cold. All right. Well, with that being your choice, what is your favorite Stone Cold match of all time?
Oh, this is so sad to me. I can't remember the time or place, but it was him and Shawn Michaels. I cannot remember the exact year. I may have to update you on that. I was just watching it the other day.
It wouldn't have happened to being with Iron Mike Tyson as the enforcer, would it?
No,
Okay, because that's my
no.
favorite. That's my favorite of all time
I
of
know
Stone Cold.
it wasn't that one,
I
but
think that was WrestleMania 13 or 14.
mhm.
Um, Maybe a Bad Blood during that time era or something.
Yes, yes. My brain got it. Yes. Which my dad, he was a huge, he loved Stone Cold, like quoting him around the house, all that kind of stuff.
And that's the
Getting
bottom line.
doing that, I'll be like shooting my birds. And I'm like, Stone Cold does it. The kid, he's like, can't do that. But I feel like lots of kids got in trouble for certain stuff. I remember getting in trouble for telling kids to suck it. You know,
Hmm.
doing that. I got a lot of talks for that part.
The Attitude Era was definitely a fun time to be a fan, but it was not a fun time for having to interact at school and stuff because we were being influenced by that.
It was funny because when I asked my dad for the first time ever to watch wrestling with me, he told me no because he only knew the Attitude Era. And at that time, I was like, Dad, it's not even like that anymore. And then as I started digging even deeper, and I'm over here telling kids at church to suck it and doing the hand motions, I was getting in trouble.
Little Tommy's over there messing with TGainz during the sermon, and she turns around and says, "Suck it!" And suddenly the whole church goes quiet.
Yeah.
That's great. Your your favorite all time Bailey match?
Mm. It's so funny. It probably sounds weird, but I would say I was there for it. And it was honestly a regular match with her and Sasha Banks at this point. But what made it so special is when I was, watching there with NXT, like Sasha, like not to say she wasn't established, but she was like in her new years, and they both were, and they both done amazing things. Like even now, like most recent stuff. But what ties me back is it was just like a simple match of them two, but it just held so much to me at that time. Just seeing these women then and what it is like now on where they are and everything and the appreciation for it.
Right, back then they were
Mhm.
hungry and had something to prove.
Yeah, and with like the crowd and stuff, there wasn't a huge establishment of like who their character was then, but still I was so sucked into these two women, and I was just struck by the athleticism that they both showed. And this was one of like the first times when I first got into going to the NXT shows that my dad was taking me to. And yeah, like I said, watching them now is just amazing. So I know like it's not something I can pinpoint, but there was something with that night when I saw them for the first time with each other that it was just one of those moments that I can say that made me just love wrestling. I was like, I want to be like these women.
You're gonna have me going back through old NXTs looking for TGainz in the crowd.
It's funny. I mean, I had this is like weird. I had to go through a surgery. I got 7 teeth removed because I was getting prepped for braces. And that next night was NXT, and I was wanting to go so bad, even though I just had this surgery. And I called my dad when I got out and have gauze in my mouth, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And the first thing I say is, "Are we going to NXT?" He's like, "We'll see how you are when you get home." But I made a poster that said, "Just got 7 teeth removed and still at NXT." And that night, like my face was swollen. I had Bailey. It's funny because Tyler Breeze, he was there. He signed it, and so at the first day of flatbacks, I was like, "Check this photo out," and I'm here with a swollen face as a kid. And Bailey was there that night. I like ran into Charlotte in the bathroom, and we took a picture, and I'm like, just totally medicated out. It's so hilarious. But
Yeah,
you know, we
I
were
heard that story on your quad pod, I believe, about you and Charlotte.
yeah, it was it was so much fun. Like I said, probably about 20 something shows my dad took me to of NXT and then two WWE live ones. But it was sweet. It's really bittersweet to think about now because that was like NXT was the black and gold. It was starting out and it was at these super close places. And it's good that it's grown to where it is, but it's nice to sit back on those memories of like what it was then.
No, I guarantee you, you popped like crazy when Bailey come back at SummerSlam this year, didn't you?
I did. It's funny. I do these podcasts and I tell people about this, but then I'm like, you know what? I just need to post all these pictures of me as a youngin. I have a picture of me like almost having her in a chokehold. I was hugging her so tight when she came by me.
It's good stuff.
Mhm.
What advice would you give someone looking to become a wrestler?
I would tell them to just dive in and don't give it a second thought because you're always going to be able to come up with a reason why you shouldn't or why you should push it off. But my advice would just be to dive on into it because that's what I did when I got out of high school. I did one powerlifting meet and my quotas were high enough to send me to nationals, but I was going through like a really I wouldn't say tough time, but in my heart, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I even trying to pursue
You're
this
questioning
powerlifting?
it.
Yeah, it was a whole question thing. And what's funny is the movie that they made about Paige. I'm not sure if you've seen it, if you
Fighting
ever.
with my family.
Hmm. I watched it with my family, and then I literally went into like a separate room, and I just started crying. And I was like, because it just hit me, like, because when I was bouncing back and forth on when to start this or not, and just seeing that, it just hit me, and it was like, this is your dream, like it's time now. And I had all the plane tickets booked for me to go compete at nationals in powerlifting, and then I set my parents down and I was like, I don't want to go to this competition, I want to go to wrestling school. And then I dived in it and it was the best decision that I ever made. And I could have honestly I could have competed in nationals and just went to like a different sports session for flatbacks if I really wanted to, but something just hit me. It was like the time is now, and I just got to jump on it. So
The
my
John
biggest
Cena
advice,
music played, and it was like, my time is now.
yeah, I was like, I can't wait any longer. Let me look this up now, and then everything fell into place for me to go and get in. And like I said, it was the best decision, best time. Everything just lined up perfectly. So the biggest advice would be to just dive in because you won't realize how much time you waste by sitting and debating and making excuses like I'll check into it tomorrow or this or that. Like you don't want to let time pass you by.
Right, and then you don't want to be stuck 10 years later wondering what if.
Yes, that was the biggest thing. I told myself, like my people, like I could go into this and I can fail, but I'm not going to know if I don't. And the biggest thing is because it's such a sad thought to think, like going to the end of your life and thinking like what ifs. Like life's too short to have what ifs, and I feel like that would be the saddest thing.
So basically, your advice is don't think, just do it.
Yes, don't think, just do it.
Because if you get in your head about it, you might not.
Yeah.
So in
Don't
the
apply that to every single situation,
no, just
but
wrestling.
just wrestling. Only when it comes to wrestling.
So in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Honestly, it's so crazy to think it's already been 3 and like I'm coming up on 5 and it's like wow. But honestly, I love where I've been at right now. I feel like I've been building a good name for myself on the indies. I know that people say, "Where do you see yourself?" And it's like they're expecting you to say either AEW or WWE because those are just the two at the top. And I tell myself like either phone call I would get, I would be blessed and I would run with it. If I had to just point blank choose, I would love to be on an AEW stage. That's what my goal is, and that's what I'm working towards is just getting myself out there and putting my name out there in that spot.
Right. Which I was gonna say because just judging by your in-ring work and your ability, I wouldn't be surprised if we see TGainz in AEW, like even if it's dark or dark elevation, in like by the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
you're making waves. I don't know if
Mhm.
you realize this or not, but TGainz is gaining popularity.
Yes, that's the goal.
I think it'll be a reality. Like no doubt about it whatsoever.
Hmm.
You're good at what you do.
Thank you.
So anything else you want to talk about? Because that is all my questions.
This was really awesome. I love podcasts. Doing these more has been so much fun, and I love talking about wrestling and the other aspects that go into it. Um, it's
Yeah,
been a lot of fun.
I think it's a good thing for people to get to know. Like, hey, you know, they might not know that Stone Cold was your favorite heel or whatever, and that just might be something that they get the courage enough to spark up a conversation with you at the shows and leads to more fans. So that's why I do this, is because this is my way of giving back to the independent side of the business.
Yeah, I think it's fun because like at shows, like you come out and like you wrestle a match, you don't always cut up promos, so it's like everything they see is from like your body language and what you do. So it's cool to sit down and hear someone's voice and actually talk, and then get more time to get to know them, even when it's on like a more laid back scale like this, not in a ring, but
Right,
like a
because I
more
mean,
formal,
a 10-15 minute intermission, you don't have time to mingle with everybody that possibly wants to, speak with you and all that.
Yeah, and I love that time. It's like right as it hits, I'm trying to make my way out there because I want to soak up that time with those people. And
That's
I love fan interactions. Of course, the kids always steal my heart, and I give out all the hugs. It's funny because you hear some people like talk about entrances, and they're like, "Don't make 50 laps around the ring to get in." And I'm like, "I'm hugging all these babies, okay? I can't. I'm gonna feel bad if I miss one. All right, I will walk back.
you're an ambassador.
Yes, like I would turn around and I would walk back and hug that little baby, and then I'll get in."
That's good stuff. That's very good stuff. But I mean, it kind of comes off it like just your personality. Like I've gained that just from the interaction that we've had so far. I
Because even
have
through,
I haven't had the privilege of a TGainz live event yet, but it will be coming in the near future.
oh yes,
That doesn't mean that I haven't done my homework, because I kind of have to for things like this. And like I said, with the stuff we do over here at Exclusive Pro Wrestling, when we're talking about building up a women's division, and your name comes up regularly. They're like,
yes.
well, who do you think would be a good fit for the division? Well, let's see. From just my experience of who's popping, because like you're popping right now. So I think some other good fits would be like There's another girl that's making waves called Valerie Verman that I've heard of. Another girl that I've actually had on the podcast, Colby Max. She's from up north, but like there's a plethora of good women talent out there, and I just think that if done right, you guys could be bigger assets than the males.
Mhm.
I mean, just to be honest, like people are gonna come out to see you.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
that's gonna conclude the audio segment of this podcast. Um, to all my listeners, listen to the We Can't Wrestle podcast, Slice and Time, The Year That Was, dot, dot, dot. If you smell what the arch is cooking, Golden Voices with David Gold and Cheyenne Ortiz, anything that's on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network. We have something for everybody. And TGainz, I would like to thank you for your time. And we will say goodbye to the audio listeners right now, and then we will shoot some extra stuff for what's going to go on Facebook and YouTube.
All right, awesome.
So, all the Quad Squad,
Oh, my squad squad.
we're out. All right, let me write down that timestamp. I keep this all in my notes, and it goes straight from my phone to my MacBook here, so I stay pretty well organized with that. 41:32. So, all right, this will be the bonus stuff where we're gonna. Could you send me over that highlight video that you want played?
Um, yeah, I did it on. Did it go through on Instagram?
Let me see. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't want to let me message you off my computer, but it will off my phone. That's weird.
Mhm.
But no, it didn't come through.
And then, okay. Here, let me.
Hold on, I'll send you a message with my email right here,
Okay.
and we'll get it that way. That way, I can get that queued up so they can see the TGainz highlight video.
Mhm.
No, I do think it's really cool that your gimmick is pretty much, it's a outlet of your shoot name and all that, and it's pretty much you turned up to 11.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, they said you can become and where I want to be, and then, what, let me just be myself, because I know that wrestlers, they go through so many different gimmicks whole career. So you know what? I'm just gonna start out as myself.
Oh Lord, it's doing the choppy thing again.
Oh, is it chopping up?
No, it's not choppy now.
Okay. Should be headed your way. Okay, I think it's set now.
Okay. I must be. Yeah, that would be why. I was looking at the wrong email account, but because I got one for the podcast and one for the one for my normal one. All
Yeah.
right, there we go. I got that. So boom, 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 boom. Let me get out of full screen with that. Let me go to share. Share screen. Window. There we go. Share. Let's go full screen with that. And this is the TGainz highlight video. That is that definitely shows the very versatile moveset that you have.
Hmm.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to show my strong suit, but I was like, I want to be a little unexpected. Because just like with the strong woman style, you don't expect them to jump or do all this different stuff. So I was like, I want to have multiple stuff in my set.
Oh yeah, you definitely incorporate that. I believe what was that like a Big Show final cut that I seen, and then like I got Ultimate Warrior vibes when you're shaking the ropes. It's
Yes.
like this girl is a student of the game. So the next thing that I have queued up right here is from Freedom Force, your 2 out of 3 falls match with Lexi Gomez.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna turn the volume down on this one after your entrance, so me and you can kind of discuss what's going on with the match and all that.
Okay.
So let me go to here, share screen. You are definitely over with that crowd.
Yes. And you can tell that that's my dad.
Yeah, I was about to ask, was that guy your dad?
Hmm. I love it.
So how did this match come about?
This came about. Me and Lexi was actually the second women's match that Freedom Force Wrestling ever had, and we were their second match, and I won that match, and then we just kept on like really feuding. We were really the two women that kept showing up, so it was really like a battle back and forth on who's gonna be on top. After this, we had many doubts before this match because after that, her and Alex Todd tag teamed, and that's when me and Logan Stevens tag team up against each other. And at the very end, I got my leg swept. I took the apron, and then Alex got the upper hand on Logan, and we didn't win that night. And so we just had this back and forth on who was going to be on top. And this was set up to be a 2 out of 3 falls match, but right now, as you see, it was changed last minute to be for the Freedom Force Wrestling Women's belt.
I got you. And then you have the Iron Ref, Kyle Weaver there.
Yes, love Kyle.
I'm very,
Amazing.
I'm very familiar with him and Bill.
Two awesome people.
Oh yeah, very,
Love
very
them.
good people.
I feel like every match I've had at Freedom Force, I believe Kyle has been my rep.
He's definitely went 6 or 7 matches in a row, refing for us a night or two.
Oh yes, he was putting. I mean, he was putting in the work, he would come back, get a quick swig of water, and he was back at it.
Was that your dad?
Oh yeah,
Come
there could
on,
be
TGainz.
his voice is gone after the matches every time.
Oh, trust me, I definitely understand because I ring announce and I give it my all, and by the end of the night, I am hoarse. Do you hear me? Like
Mhm.
the next day, I could barely talk. Seems here that Lexi tried to get the jump on you and gained the upper hand.
Oh yeah, couldn't even finish pulling my kick pads up.
Look at there. There's that feistiness out of TGainz. I feel like you're really athletic though. Like it really shows.
Mhm.
Like that finisher, your Quadzilla,
Mhm.
that's unique.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was going to planning this stuff for myself. I was like, because when you think about it, like the indie scene, all this different stuff, like getting yourself out there is like what makes you different, what makes you set apart, and that you're not just like every other person. And I really
Right.
told myself, I was like, I know I want to stick with my quads, and which that originated just because when I started working out when I was a kid, that was the first thing that responded, and my legs just blew up, and I was like, I got all the nicknames of quad stuff when I was growing up. But I was like, there's no other girl out here just squatting other girls, and I was like, that's gonna be my thing. If someone's
Yeah.
gonna do it, it's gonna
It
be me.
it definitely makes you stick out because it's like it's an impressive feat.
Hmm.
And originality definitely carries you far. Obviously, the people do not like Lexi here.
Yeah.
Either they don't like Lexi or they just like you so much that they hate her for what she's doing.
Those girls were on it all night. I believe one of them won an award that night for being one of the loudest people in the crowd. My dad's favorite line is "slow count ref." You hear that often.
So obviously, your dad's one of your biggest supporters.
Oh yeah, you can tell when he's in the crowd.
Said if you're not over, you will be by the time you make that entrance all the way. Like, what are you doing? Stand up. That's TGainz.
He literally did that night. He's gonna get, if you're not hyped around him, he's gonna get you hyped.
Well, I mean that's definitely good to have that trend and vibe setter in the crowd working in your favor. Like a lot of people don't understand that though. Just like that reaction out of the crowd and stuff, it definitely can help you push through.
Oh yeah, it makes all the difference hearing that. It literally amps you up. It keeps you in tune, and like you feed off of it.
Oh yeah. She's telling them to be quiet, and they're getting louder. Oh, she is. She is. That fan there is definitely, definitely into it. Look, little taste of her own medicine.
I love giving chops now. My thing is, if you're gonna give it to me, you're gonna
Yeah, right. You're gonna have to take
receive
them
one.
back. That's an unwritten rule, chop for chop, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like, what? It's one of those what's understood doesn't have to be explained things.
Yeah.
You have. I'll put it like this though. Like, you have a really impressive physique.
Thank you.
And I seen where you put something on I think it was Facebook or something talking about something about thick thighs but quads that kill or something like that.
I know I did that and thick thighs, thin patience.
Yeah, I pay attention. I love the insecurity.
Oh yeah, I love them.
That's the final cut that I was talking about. Now this was the first fall, right?
Yeah. Lexi had gotten her first pin on me at that very start. Um, After we had went about the outside and she had taken me into the still post, she got her first pin there, and so mine is here. So now we're even.
So next fall is the winner.
Hmm.
I see you getting pushy with the ref there. Come on,
I was
it's
getting
that
like,
time. I got her.
I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just excited.
Every time you strike her, that crowd pops, and every time she hits you, they're like, oh,
Oh.
they are definitely invested in the TGainz. Very, very impressive.
Here all at once. Oh.
It's pretty awesome though how invested they get behind you. Even if your dad wasn't there as the hype man. I've heard good things about Lexi also.
She's a good, strong competitor, and I know that her name gets thrown out a lot when you're talking about the indies and who's making waves and doing stuff. She's always thrown in the mix too. She's a good
Right.
competitor.
Now who is that on the apron?
So that is Emily Locke, and she was actually in the first ever Freedom Force Wrestling Women's match.
No,
And
I'm who's the man?
the man, he is in a tag team called Exodus, and sometimes Emily teams up with them, and there's three of them as Exodus. But when she does her singles stuff, she just represents with them. But That's
Now I
everything.
want to talk about what's fixing to happen right here.
Hmm. A lot of confusion.
Yeah, she hel- hits she hits her with the belt, comes in, hands it to you, and basically she's fixing to tell you that she believes you'll be the easier one to beat.
Yeah.
And
I really,
so you leave the belt laying in the ring, and that's pretty admirable, and that shows where your morals are,
yeah,
because you want something that you earned and not something that was given to you underhandedly.
yeah. And um that's when I felt like it was only right. And I told the people that night, like when I held it, I was confused. When I held it in my hand, I was struck. I was like, oh my goodness, but it was gonna take away my character if I was to walk out that night with that belt. It was gonna take away what I knew that what I stand for. And so that's when I told them that I wanted a triple threat match for us three, and that's what took place at Tribute to the Troops, um, at the first Saturday of this month, and that's when I won the belt fair and square.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, don't you hold two women's championships belts?
Yes, so at Freedom Force, I hold the belt there, and I also hold the belt at SWA in Fayetteville, Georgia, and I've been their champion since January 15th, I believe.
So TGainz is coming around, and she's the title collector, y'all.
And it's Emily Locke that I'm facing tomorrow there for the belt.
And that's in Pavo or Newton.
Pavo.
Got you, because I know sometimes they do Newton, Georgia too. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I think it's either, I believe that the third Saturday of every month is Pavo, and they also run every month, and they're not sure which Saturday, but. Mhm.
Gotcha. Well, that will conclude our video segment and giving the people some live action of TGainz. TGainz, it has been a pleasure having you on here. And I'm gonna end the broadcast here, but we can still speak backstage. So,
All right, cool.
all right.